1958 in West Germany. An 18-year-old boy named Michael is walking home when suddenly, it starts pouring rain. Feeling unwell, he stops at the entrance of an apartment and begins to vomit. A woman named Hannah, who lives in the same apartment, notices him. Seeing his condition, she immediately comes to help. She gently cleans his mouth, and as Michael starts crying, she embraces him, offering comfort. Once he calms down, she helps him get home safely. Later, Michael is having lunch with his family. His father, noticing his poor condition, calls a doctor. After examining him, the doctor diagnoses Michael with scarlet fever and advises him to rest at home for the next 3 months. After months of recovery, Michael finally feels well. Once he fully recovers, he tells his mother about the kind woman who had helped him that day. His mother suggests that he should thank her. Taking her advice, Michael buys a bouquet of flowers and visits Hannah's house. When Hannah opens the door, she asks how he is doing now. Michael tells her that he is fine and hands her the flowers as a token of gratitude. Just as he turns to leave, Hannah tells him she is about to leave for work and asks him to wait in another room until she gets ready so they can leave together. While Hannah is changing, Michael secretly watches her. But when she catches him staring, he gets embarrassed and runs away in fear. The next day, Michael sees Hannah at work, handing a bus ticket to a passenger. Realizing that he should apologize to her, he decides to visit her again. When he arrives at her house, Hannah has just returned from work. She asks him to bring up a bucket of coal from downstairs. As he carries the coal up, his face and clothes get covered in ash. Seeing this, Hannah tells him to take a bath. Then, as she helps him remove his dirty clothes, she seduces him. Michael, already drawn to her, gives in to the moment, and the two become intimate. That night, Michael is back home, having dinner with his family. He had stayed at Hannah's house for a long time and returned late. When his father asks where he was, Michael lies and says he lost his way. The next day after school, he rushes to Hannah's house again, and the two spend more time together. As days pass, Michael finds himself completely lost in thoughts at Hannah. He eagerly waits for school to end each day, paying no attention to the girls his age. His visits to Hannah's house become a daily routine, and before long, the two begin an affair. One day, while spending time together, Hannah asks Michael what he studies in school. In response, he pulls out a book from his bag and starts reading a story to her. Hannah enjoys listening to him so much that it becomes a regular part of their meetings. What Michael doesn't know is that Hannah is illiterate. She cannot read or write. One day, Michael is riding the same bus where Hannah works. When she sees him, she becomes furious. She doesn't want anyone to find out about their relationship, so she ignores him completely. Confused and hurt, Michael later goes to her house and demands to know why she acted that way. Hannah tells him that they cannot be seen together in public. This leads to an argument, but eventually, Michael apologizes, and Hannah forgives him. A few days later, Michael asks Hannah to go on a cycling trip, and she agrees. To fund their trip, Michael sells his prized stamp collection, gathering enough money to travel and enjoy their time together. The next day, Michael and Hannah set off on their 2-day cycling trip. As they travel, they stop at various places to eat and explore, enjoying each other's company. On the second day, they visit a church, but upon entering, Hannah suddenly becomes quiet and distant. Michael notices the sadness in her eyes, but cannot understand the reason behind it. Seeing her like this worried him, but he doesn't ask questions. After completing their trip, they return home. Spending so much time together strengthens their bond, and their feelings for each other deepen. Meanwhile, at school, a girl develops feelings for Michael, but he only has eyes for Hannah. He pays no attention to the girl and ignores her completely. Around this time, Hannah gets promoted at work, but instead of being happy, she becomes sad. The promotion means she will have to move to another city, and the thought of leaving troubles her deeply. One day, Michael's school friends organize a party to celebrate his birthday, but instead of attending, he chooses to visit Hannah. However, when he arrives, he finds her in a melancholic mood. An argument breaks out between them over an unrelated matter, but later, Michael apologizes, and they make up. That night, they lie together, unaware that it will be their last. The next morning, Michael wakes up to an empty house. Hannah is gone. When he searches for her, he finds that all her belongings have disappeared. Realizing that she is left without a word, Michael feels his heart shatter. He is left completely alone, struggling to process her sudden departure. The story then shifts forward by a year, to 1966. Michael is now a student at Heidelberg Law School, pursuing his dream of becoming a lawyer. He lives in a hostel, dedicating himself to his studies. One day, his professor takes a group of students to attend a special seminar at the courthouse, where they are to observe a real trial. As the proceedings begin, the judge mentions a name that sends a shock through Michael. Hannah. Michael is stunned. He sees her standing in court and wonders what she is being accused of. He cannot believe his eyes. Why is she here? Why is a case being tried against her? As he listens, the truth unfolds. Hannah was once an SS guard during World War II. The Nazi-run camp she worked at held Jewish prisoners, specifically women. Only female SS guards were assigned there, and Hannah was among them. The case against her and several others is severe. Hannah, along with her fellow guards, is accused of allowing 300 Jewish women and children to perish in a burning church when they could have saved them. Since Hannah was in a supervisory position, the court demanded answers. The judge asks her why she joined the SS guards and whether someone influenced her decision. Hannah calmly replies that she joined simply because she learned they were hiring women at the time. The trial is adjourned, and Michael returns to his law school, overwhelmed by what he has witnessed. He cannot believe that the same woman he once knew, the one who had cared for him, who had shown him kindness, could be involved in something so horrific. The next day at the trial, the judge presents a book to Hannah. The book contains an account written by Ilana, a survivor of the church incident. Ilana and her mother had escaped the tragedy and later filed a case against Hannah and the other women who had guarded them. On the day of the incident, 5 other women had been on duty alongside Hannah. Now, in an attempt to protect themselves, they were blaming Hannah, making her the sole scapegoat. However, Hannah refuses to accept the accusations and insists that she is innocent. Ilana is then called to testify. She confirms that all the women had been present that day. The judge turns to Hannah and tells her that she was in charge during the incident and that she had written the official report. But Hannah denies this, stating that all the women had written the report together and that she had not been in charge. However, the judge points out that the report bears her signature. Hannah, visibly shaken, claims that the signature is forged. To prove the truth, the judge asks her to sign a document so that they can compare the handwriting. But Hannah hesitates, fear flashing across her face. At that moment, Michael realizes something he had never suspected before. Hannah is illiterate. This revelation explains why she had always asked him to read to her, why she had refused a desk job after being promoted to bus conductor, and even why she had joined the SS. Hannah had lived her whole life hiding her illiteracy, and now, rather than admitting it before the court, she takes all the blame upon herself to avoid humiliation. The judge then asks her why she didn't save the prisoners on the day of the fire. Hannah replies, stating that they had followed orders. If they had opened the doors, the prisoners would have fled, and they would have been punished for allowing an escape. The next day, Michael visits the prison to see Hannah. She is waiting, hoping someone will come, but she has no idea that Michael is nearby. However, as Michael stands outside, he struggles with his emotions. Unable to face her, he turns around and leaves without meeting her. At the next trial, the verdict is announced. Hannah is sentenced to life imprisonment, while the other women receive only a few years. As Michael listens, tears stream down his face. The truth remains buried. Hannah had joined the SS out of desperation, not choice. On the day of the fire, all the women had been terrified. Hannah had wanted to open the church doors and free the captives, but the others had stopped her, fearing punishment. In the end, none of them had dared to act, leading to the tragic deaths of the prisoners. Years pass, and Michael graduates from law school, eventually becoming a successful lawyer. He marries, and he and his wife have a daughter. However, the marriage does not last, and Michael eventually divorces, separating from his daughter. Though they occasionally meet, his life feels incomplete. Despite everything, Michael never forgets Hannah. Her memory lingers in his heart, and he often rereads the books he once narrated to her. Meanwhile, Hannah remains in prison, growing old. Her face is weathered, her hair is turned white, and time has left its marks on her. One day, Michael decides to send her a gift. He records himself reading a book and sends the cassette along with a tape recorder to Hannah in prison. When Hannah receives the package and opens it, she stares at the cassette, confused. She does not understand how to use it. As she presses play, Michael's voice fills the room. He has recorded a story for her. Hearing his voice after so many years, Hannah is overwhelmed with emotions. From that day on, Michael continued to send her recorded tapes, each one filled with stories, just like in the past. Inspired by these recordings, Hannah begins teaching herself to read and write using books from the prison library. Slowly, she starts forming words and writing letters to Michael, eagerly waiting for his response. But Michael never writes back, nor does he visit her. He only continues to send the audio tapes, keeping their connection alive in a silent, distant way. One day, the prison warden calls Michael and informs him that Hannah is set to be released on parole. She has served over 20 years in prison. The warden explained that Hannah has no family or home to return to, and she needs someone to help her transition back into society. Knowing that Michael is the only person she has left, the warden asks him to make arrangements for her. After some thought, Michael agrees. He finds an apartment for Hannah and arranges a job for her so that she can start anew. The next day, Michael finally visits Hannah after so many years. Seeing him, Hannah's face lights up with happiness. He tells her about the house and job he has arranged for her, but their conversation remains distant. Hannah asks Michael if he's married. He replies that he was, and he has a daughter, but his marriage didn't last, and he is now divorced. Hannah senses that Michael is holding back, keeping a certain distance from her. She wants to talk about their past, but Michael avoids the subject. Instead, he tells her that he will come back in a week to pick her up after her release. After Michael leaves, a heavy silence fills Hannah's cell. That night, overwhelmed by guilt and regret over her past, she makes a heartbreaking decision. She takes her own life. A week later, when Michael arrives at the prison to take Hannah home, the warden gives him the devastating news. Hannah ended her life the same day he visited her. Shocked and grief-stricken, Michael is taken to her cell, where he finds a note and a small box containing money. In her final message, Hannah requests that her savings be given to Ilana, the survivor of the church fire. Michael follows her last wish and travels to meet Ilana. Sitting across from her, he opens up about his past with Hannah, revealing the connection they once shared. Then, he hands her the box full of money. However, Ilana refuses to accept it. Understanding her feelings, Michael suggests donating the money to a Jewish organization that helps adults learn to read and write. Ilana agrees, and together, they ensure that Hannah's final act will contribute to someone's education, a chance Hannah never had. Years pass, and the story shifts to 1995. Michael meets his daughter again and takes her to a church, the same one he and Hannah visited during their cycling trip all those years ago. Standing there, he tells his daughter everything about Hannah, sharing a chapter of his life that he had kept buried. Finally, they visit Hannah's grave, where Michael silently reflects on everything that had happened. And with that, the story comes to an end. Friends, if Hannah had been educated, would her life have been different? Share your thoughts in the comments section. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And press the bell icon so you never miss an explanation.